How's it going, Rash? And good morning. I'm frickin' half asleep myself. I can't survive without it. Then again, I'm at a point where it doesn't even really do anything. I drink so much coffee that it doesn't really have an effect on me anymore. I've developed such a tolerance to it. Well, it does do something, but it's more like withdrawals cause the issues more than caffeine actually wakes me up, if that makes sense. It's probably the best way to do it. At least then you don't develop a tolerance to that extent. I just love it. That's the problem. I drink it like freaking crazy. It's more about taste than actually needing it for caffeine or anything. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Not much, just getting started. Trying to clear the brain out. Took like a quick nap because I'm extremely tired today.
Oh, cool. Well, I got up about 2 hours ago, and then it's like, nah, this is too early, and I went back to sleep again.
Yeah, that's happened to me all the time.
Yeah. What was
Then
your
again,
topic? Sorry, go on.
you're good. The topic is political violence in general. And I decided to cover it because of some of the comments that I got on some of my, well, you were there, uh,
Mm,
in the comments of videos. And it's also a broad topic in general, and I think it's a good time to discuss it, given the circumstances, at least in the United States, at least, uh, with the United Healthcare CEO. It's still sort of a big topic.
that's right, Mario's brother, Luigi.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to me to watch the specifically on him the way
Mm,
the media portray him. I'm like it's becoming clear to me even more so than before the extent at which the media is controlled. Like they all act in lockstep. They
mm.
all cover it in the exact same way and use the same phrasing, and they all try to like they're trying to draw attention from his looks because that became this big thing, especially among females, like he's hot.
I,
And they felt that that's like that. Well, of course, the elite are frightened right now. They're like this has made them freak out, and for good reason. So like they're making him like there's cartoon depictions of like the courtroom, and I can't prove this, but I'm certain someone told the people making the cartoons make him ugly, and they've portrayed him as like a 55-year-old guy.
oh, wow. Okay.
They're doing this strange narrative, like they're trying to. I don't know that they're trying to manipulate people, and they're also doing everything they can to make him look menacing,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and they're throwing everything they can at him. Like, no one will convince me that if it had just been like some random dude on the street, that the courts would be treating things this way. They would not have charged him with terrorism, and they charged him with terrorism. Like, it's showing that we're an oligarchy. We're not a democracy.
Well, I mean, they rightly can charge him with terrorism. I mean,
Right. Well, so
they
my
can.
yes, my issue is not whether or not they're capable of doing it. My issue is that it's a clear double standard. Is that they would not have done so if it hadn't have been a CEO. And like, I don't give a fuck about a CEO.
And if he didn't have a manifesto.
That's true. Now, the manifesto does add a little bit more context to it, and it does make it. I don't know. I guess that's a valid point.
Look, I totally agree with you that behind the scenes, the mainstream media are getting money to portray it the way you're saying. That's a given. That's a fact. Yeah. But yeah. When it comes to the non-mainstream media that I'm seeing, most of them go the same route of yes, you can't go around killing people, la la la, but yeah, this guy is a symptom of the problem, and that's actually more correct. Whereas the mainstream ones, it's like, oh, this is really bad, la la. It's totally. They don't even do the news anymore. That's just the thing. It's all to create a narrative.
Yep.
Look, I've been watching this kind of thing from the side of the Israel-Palestine thing for years.
Yeah, sadly, it's taken me a while. And in fact, I used to go like, dude, seriously, you're a conspiracy theorist, to people that would say stuff like that. And it's taken me, well, for one, I am here, and we have a whole lot of fucking propaganda. Like, since we're born, we're filled with propaganda, and we're taught that this is the land of the free, and that other countries, when they talk shit, they're doing it because they're envious, and that like no other country has freedom of the press like we do. And it makes us think that, like, or at least I should speak for myself. It made me think that like, don't get me wrong, because I've always had some issues with the country. Like, but not like, I at least thought that like reporting was relatively true and real. And it's only within the last year or two that I've realized how fake our media is. It's all bullshit. It's all designed to construct a certain narrative. And to be fair, all news does that to an extent, but I feel like ours does it like way more than is necessary. Like, it's like to the point where they'll give facts, but they do everything they can to like manipulate people's feelings in the way they word things. Like, whenever, like your example of the Gaza Palestine deal, even the New York Times is the most powerful fucking news organization on the planet, and they're considered legitimate press, but they're not. They're basically elite controlled media, and you can see it in how they deal with this. They talk about Palestinians killed, and they report the facts clearly and truly, but they go Palestinians killed, and then at the end they comma according to Hamas led blah blah blah.
Yes.
And it makes people think that it's like, oh, that's not true. It's like objective, like we have these facts, but they don't present it in that way. And it leads Americans to this like weird narrative view of the world that's not accurate.
I mean, they did it again. Recently, some nobody came up with some document that they say came from Hamas, and New York Times just accepted it without any qualms, and it turns out it got stopped along the way by one of the reporters who it got sent to, and the guy said, well, look, I speak Hebrew or whatever, or it was in Arabic, or he speaks Arabic or something like that. And it was like, dude, this doesn't seem legit. Nobody talks like this. Did you use Google Translate to create the document? It was
Yeah.
like that. And I was only lucky that this one guy stopped it before it became a big story on the New York Times.
Yeah, they've gotten busted several times, and at first I thought maybe they didn't really have their scruples together when they were fact checking stories and stuff. But once it's happened over and over, you lose that. You lose the, oh, maybe they just didn't fact check like they should have on this one because they wanted to run the story quickly and be the first.
Yeah.
For one, that's not really an excuse when you're a reporter. Like people trust you to.
You literally have one job to do,
Right,
and they're not doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. But like I said, I kind of gave them benefit of the doubt at first, but now it's at a point where you have to be retarded if you don't see what's going on. Like it's so clear. Like they've over and over again talking about beheading children. Oh, Hamas came over here and started beheading children and raping people.
Right.
It didn't happen. It's all fake. It got made up by fucking Israel. And they've done this over and over and over again. And then the moment you say, oh, that's fake, that didn't happen, you're anti-Semitic. Like, how stupid.
This is one of the reasons I just stopped. I mean, I don't like American presidents much, but I think some of them are better than others. But right. I really hate Biden right now. I mean, he went up on stage and said 40 beheaded babies. The next day, the White House retracts his statement. But I mean, he literally said that he saw the photos of beheaded babies, which is it's a lie.
Yeah.
Because there are no photos. He flat out lied, which makes me think that he has his own agenda for why he needs an Israel, which is something he's already said several times throughout his career, that if we didn't have an Israel, we'd have to make one.
That's true. And well, it's not just him, it's the establishment in general. They've been using Israel as like a convenient foothold, a stranglehold on the Middle East for a while. They use it to influence Russia, China, the Middle East itself. And
the biggest land-based aircraft carrier.
What?
The biggest land-based aircraft carrier, I think they call it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we're using it for our own interests. And see, right now, I think what happened, this is just a theory, but I think Netanyahu got out of control. He was originally sort of like a puppet dictator for the U.S. and kind of he was kept in a line over the years, and now he's just like he's gotten emboldened to the point where he don't care. And like, who's he attacking now? Is it Syria?
Yep, Syria.
And they're not even hiding it anymore. They're not even trying to hide it. The international court has fucking called them illegal for years and years now. Like, only the U.S., for the most part, as far as power goes on the world stage, just constantly makes up bullshit and backs them no matter what they do. And I think don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that the United States is innocent. I'm not saying that. I am saying that I think that we've allowed them to do shit, whatever, and even told them to do shit throughout history, and we've backed them and financed them the entire time, but we always did so in a way to where we could have like a fallback. We could be like, well, we're doing this because these people are terrorists. That's the stupid one that always gets used. Like we did with Gaddafi, like we keep doing all over the fucking place. We did it in Latin America, destroyed much of Latin America. Now we basically own their resources and fuck them over constantly. We're doing it to the Middle East. We've done it in Africa. It's like a clear fucking pattern at this point. And I
mean, they're trying, the US is trying a bit of plausible deniability, talking about, they keep working on a ceasefire. But there again, literally, there was a vote in the UN Security Council or wherever, I think just last week, a Gaza ceasefire, everybody votes.
US vetoes it.
US vetoes it. I mean, like 8 countries went against the vote and 20 countries abstained, and then 140 all agreed to have a ceasefire, and it gets
Rip.
vetoed. Yeah.
It shows you their true colors, but also even if it had been if it went through, I'm pretty sure that Israel would just do what they want anyway, because Netanyahu's power relies on this war continuing.
Yeah. He's actually in court at the moment. They finally managed to get him to go to court for his I can't remember what it was, embezzlement or something. He's got some financial crimes that he's in trouble for that he's been trying to avoid by doing this war stuff. But
Is it
they've managed to get...
international or is
No,
it
no,
Israel?
it's Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So they have managed to get him into court, and he's giving testimony and stuff. I don't know where that will go. It's just him and his wife apparently doing some shady stuff. That's supposedly what he's been trying to run away from, by doing this wars and everywhere. But I mean, I don't see it as being such a big deal that he, I mean, he's the president. It's like Trump not getting in trouble for anything he does. I mean, you could get away with it. You could still just go to court and get away with it.
True. If it works in the same way that it does for us, I don't know. I don't know specifics on Israel's government.
I don't know either. That's just what I heard is happening at the moment.
Interesting. I'll have to dig into that. I don't know anything about any of that. So, I guess I will. For a couple of times when we've had structured debates, I've purposefully held off on my opinion and been like, I think it was even with you once, and I was like, I just want you to go ahead and give me yours, and then I'll illustrate mine. And then I realized later I never gave mine on at least one or two now. So now I'm just gonna come out with mine.
Go for it.
Political violence. Well, for one, before we even add political, I am not one of these people that think that, like, don't get me wrong, because I do believe that that violence is like a sort of last resort. And I've even said before, like, children fight. Like, me personally, if someone's like talking shit or whatever, I'm like, who cares? Like, it takes a lot for me to fight or to defend myself. Well, if it becomes physical, obviously I will. But so things are different in this context. And the reason why is because power dynamics are so off. So as everyday people living in a country, so in a democracy, your elected officials are supposed to be the voice of the people. And that's kind of how you let your voice be known. You vote for them and they deal with, like, they represent you, at least in our version of democracy. But it's not real. It's obviously bullshit. And the UK, I think it was Oxford University, if I'm not mistaken, basically proved it. They made a clear case that we are an oligarchy, and we are. So, and it shows through years of issues being brought up, and they show the correlation between public opinion and legislation. And there's no correlation, almost zero correlation between what people want and what gets enacted in Congress. But there is a clear correlation between what elites or wealthy donors and shit, corporations want, and what gets enacted. That alone should be enough to just show you what's going on. Some people will be like, oh, that's conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy theory, but it's a conspiracy theory with mountains of evidence to back it. It's not like saying there's lizard people live in the government. Like, you know what I mean? So I guess this is a lot just to come out with. I am perfectly okay with violence. Politically, it depends on the issue. But when we have, there's a meme that perfectly illustrates what I'm trying to say here. And I can't remember exactly how it goes, but something like decades of peaceful demonstration and protests like nothing. And
Yeah.
one man with a pistol scared the elites more than decades of work or whatever. And it's true. And this is
Yeah, I've seen
why,
that.
okay, yeah. So this is why I have to be okay with it to a certain extent, because it's the only fucking thing that works. Nothing else works. If it did, we would have done it already.
Well, okay, I've got a question then. I think everybody sort of agrees. Well, the normal person, the common man, not the elites, of course, think that what Luigi did, even if it's not quite justified, it is definitely understandable, right?
Right.
You can understand that that's. But imagine a different scenario where it is a conspiracy theory, like say something that happened on January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Political violence, but because they're bloody idiots and don't know what
Okay.
the hell they're talking
So
about.
it's a very good point. So I guess what you're trying to get at is, what if you've been manipulated
Yeah. Well,
potentially,
what
or
if you
you've been given misinformation and it's led you to like lose your mind? Then it's obviously wrong. So this becomes tricky, because if I'm right, and I obviously believe that I am, the establishment are going to protect the wealthy at all costs. That means they're not going to tell you. They're not going to come out and go like, "Hey, dude, we're like backing them no matter what. They line our pockets with money, and that's just how it is. Get over it." Like, that's not going to happen. So it is a conspiracy, but like, it's again, it's a conspiracy that's a little different, because I guess to answer your question, the difference would be evidence. So, and I don't mean subjective in my head evidence, I mean measurable factual evidence, like the voting record that I pointed out, that it shows like that no one gives a shit what we think. That's clear. That's like all you could do, maybe, and it's a stretch, is try to give some other explanation for why that's the case. Good luck. But like the way that people are treated, even by the police, like how there's a woman recently that ended up saying something on the phone call, saying like depose, deny, defend, or whatever the three thing is, and then she ended up getting locked up. And they're doing the same thing. They're
You're next.
attacking the shit out of her. What?
Yeah, $100,000 bail, and she said you're next after saying the deny the
Right.
posting. So I
Right.
mean,
So
yeah, threat, but really nobody should be locked up for that.
yes. So it is true that she said you're next, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's important. I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to like smooth it over, because she did, but it's clear that it would not be treated with this sort of severity in pretty much any other circumstance, at least from what I've seen. It's clear that there's like an obvious agenda here, and the people who pull the strings, who run the show, so to speak, are fucking afraid, and they're doing everything they can to clamp down on this before it gets out of control. And I see it as a good thing. Well, it sort of, it's not necessary. So Kyle Kalinske pointed this out. What do you think is going to happen now? What do you think, that they're going to go, oh shit, we've made everybody angry, let's be good? Or do you think that, yeah, exactly. Or do you think this is just going to make it to where they invest more in security for CEOs and all that, and the police clamp down more on it? And this is our answer. We're seeing it right now. It's unfolding right now. Like no one gives a shit about your average everyday person. We're not like politically important. So this is where I feel the people have to take the power back. And I read that article, sort of contentious and controversial, admittedly, but read the article showing that historically, that's the only time class struggle has ever been alleviated throughout history, ever. Not once has peace caused like that huge like income inequality divide to separate or like head in the other direction. It just doesn't happen. So with that being the case, I'm perfectly fucking cool with it because we're not talking like we've done this thing. When I say we, I guess I mean society in general, especially in the West. We've inveigled business so much into the common person's mind that we have sayings for it. It's not personal, it's just business. That is a way of escaping scrutiny through ethical means.
Yep.
There's nothing else to where you just get an automatic pass on ethics, right? So it's stupid that we do that. Like, if it's wrong, it's wrong. I don't give a fuck if you're a business person, an individual. I don't care if you're poor, rich, whatever. But like, we've done this thing to where people are like brainwashed to not call out fucking evil when that's what it is. And so it's like we're left in a situation like, what the fuck else are you supposed to do? Just live out your life and just try to like plug your fingers in your ears and just not even care about anything around you. Like ignorance is bliss and just fucking die poor. Personally, I don't think that's the answer.
Look, there's a lot of people, I would say 99% of people, if the money is good, they're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know because I've been one of those people. For many years, I'm working for those bloody oil companies. I was getting great money. And I know I was doing stuff wrong. I know I was doing bad stuff. I mean, like I say sometimes about the war in Iraq that happened a way back. I was making tons of money when that war was happening because that war was happening.
Right.
And you know, I felt terrible, but the money was so good. It took me years of doing that same shit over and over again to make me come to this point where no, I just want to get out. I don't want to be part of this anymore. And even that, I'm not that noble about it because really what happened was the company I actually liked working for got taken over by another company. And I didn't want to work for that company because they're shit. And that's why I left. The whole thing of wanting to be a better person, you know, I'm not going to hurt the environment anymore, la la la. It came down basically to not even that. So I think anybody, most people, I mean, I know you think, okay, no, I'd never try and work for an evil company. I don't care how much they pay me. Well, I think you'd be tempted, especially if you want to live that life.
Well, I've said before, and I stand by it. There's a lot that I claim, and like I think it was Andy kind of asked me like, "What would you do?" And I have to be honest. I don't know. It's easy to it's easy to like be ideological and like have these fervent convictions, but we're human, and if people were like perfect and capable of sticking by their values no matter what, we wouldn't have this situation where all these seemingly decent people like in Congress and shit end up getting bought off and fucking do whatever the fuck these elite people want. So it's like, to some extent, you have to have enough humility to realize that human nature takes over at a certain point. But even with the point you're making, this is like a broad thing. So like you yourself in that situation, I wouldn't consider really that bad. You're kind of taking a job and doing what's best for you. But the issue is that's not what's happening here, at least. Like, if so, it's like very, very few. On the grand scale, more and more people who are just workers are getting more and more impoverished. So it's not like people are being paid off to be quiet. It's like they're getting fucked constantly, and they're like, I've always called it the temporarily embarrassed millionaire syndrome or something. Like they take up for the wealthy because they think that they'll become wealthy one day. And so they're like, they defend it because that's like the American dream to them. Yet they, in large part, we have numbers for this. It's clear everybody can't be wealthy. So what happens is they end up dying fucking standing on this hill and they get fucked over their whole damn life. And it's crazy to me.
I'm not sure about the everybody can't be wealthy thing, because I mean, you try and get your head around numbers like a billion or a trillion or several trillion in terms of, say, dollars. Share that around. I think we'd all have a lot more money than we, you know, if some of that, if that money got shared equally, I think a lot of people would be a lot happier, as in, you know, maybe 5, 10
for
times
sure
happier than they are now.
Yes, well, that's actually sort of my position. So I guess I should be more specific. What we all can't be like Elon Musk wealthy. To some extent, it is a zero-sum game. There's only so much money to circulate. Like so he sort of holds a monopoly in certain areas. And he may play the role of like, you know, this is all free market, blah blah blah. This is fair. He has went way out of his way to like destroy any possible competition. That's how you get that far. You have to. But like, so I agree with you definitely that like, see, that's actually my whole stance really. We could fund insane amounts of public good stuff. And just by taxing the wealthy at a fair rate. And this wouldn't even affect like a vast majority of the entire population. Like 95% of the population wouldn't even be affected at all. And the people who are affected, like, do you have sympathy for a person that's going to lose out on one less Bugatti a year? Like, seriously? Like, it's sad.
Talking about this kind of thing, especially guys with that kind of money, I don't think that Elon Musk is what I think he is. Well, no, that's a stupid way to say it. There's this sort of idea I've seen floating around that Elon Musk has got bigger plans. It's like he wants us to go to Mars to save humanity, you know, so that if something happens to Earth, you know, la la la. I actually agree with that idea. That we
agree with the
to have colonies. You know,
I don't think Elon Musk is.
I don't think that's why he's doing it.
Right. So
I mean, for a start, Mars is a place to have a colony.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he should know that. If as smart as people say he is, he should know that Mars is not a good place to have a colony. They're saying, oh, if you did it on the moon, what if somebody nuked the moon? Well, dude, if you're going to start nuking other planets, you could still nuke Mars if you wanted to. You know, it's not that okay. It is a bit different in terms of, you know, vector. What's it called? The delta V to get your nukes over there. But I mean, it's still, you can nuke anything you want to nuke in the solar system if you really wanted. So, yeah. But the thing is, there's this idea floating around that Elon is sort of, he's grabbing all the money and power that he can in order for some big master plan where he saves the world from itself somehow. And I don't think he's doing that, even though I could rationalize that, oh, that's actually pretty noble. But I don't think he's doing it. I think he's just doing it for his own ego.
Exactly. There's always a fallback for what they want to do. Like you see it whenever they kill bills and they go, this is a bad bill that'll hurt, blah, blah, blah. When the truth is it's for their own greed and their own ambition. That's always the case. They always have some sort of noble way of wording things to make them look like they're good people. But sometimes, I will say this, sometimes one person's greed and ambition can lead to an outcome that is a desired outcome for everyone. I won't say that happens often because it doesn't, but sometimes that'll happen. Like you could see a Trump like so desperate to be loved by the masses that he just pulls something that like fucking just helps people, just to get that. And that's the thing, that can happen. Again, I don't think it happens very often, but I'll call it when it happens. And like, so if we end up colonizing Mars, the moon, whatever, and it leads us to innovation and technology and a way to move forward, I will applaud him for that. But I'll also be skeptical and trying to figure out what he's actually looking for. Like, is he going to charge people to go there and like make massive amounts of money? If so, that's kind of evil, but at the same time, he's doing something that we should be working towards. So I can let that slide.
Well, I mean, okay, I think one of those examples in history would be the Ford guy. He created that system of production of manufacturing cars. Everybody works on a line, kind of thing, and
he also originated
it was hailed as, you know,
the weekend.
There you go. At the same time, it turned people pretty much into robots. You know.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But he realized
any of these innovations or good things come with bad things, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I agree with that. So to me, a lot of it comes back to intent. And so I'll focus on intent sometimes. It depends on what I'm looking for. Am I looking for the outcome only? Is that what I'm talking about? Or am I talking about intent? And oftentimes I go with intent, especially when it comes to the right. I'll admit it, because I fucking loathe them. I fucking hate them. They're so fake. And don't get me wrong, I give shit to Dems all the fucking time too. They're both fake. But to me, the right is so much like, it's clear that they're just evil human beings. And so sometimes I don't focus on the outcome, and I'll focus on the clear intent of what they're getting out of it. To especially when it's something that people are happy about. And I'm like, you know why they're doing this, right? But on the other side, you can look at it clearly, like through the Noam Chomsky way of looking, like you don't gauge intent at all, only outcome. And you could say like some things, even if they're evil people, can meet a common good. But it's very rare. Most of the time, what benefits elites harms everyone else, almost always.
Yeah. What do you think about AOC? I'm starting to have doubts.
Hello, Gadwin, by the way.
Howdy.
AOC, I'm starting to like her more lately, but out of curiosity, what specifically are you having doubts about?
I don't know. To me, I mean, during the campaign with the Kamala thing and her pushing for Kamala, and then just a bit before that, her pretending she didn't know anything about Palestine and staying out of it. And later on, she sort of, it seems like she was doing that sort of almost on the narrative of, well, Israel does have a right to defend itself, you know, doing that. And I think she's young enough to get bought for her thing, her high morals, her high standards to have been bought. I don't think the same with Bernie. I think Bernie is independently wealthy anyway, and he's the kind of guy, I don't care, I've got $1 million, I'm gonna sit back, I don't care. It's a bit like me, but and maybe that's why I like him more, and that's why I trust him more. But AOC, despite how much I used to like her, I'm beginning to have my doubts.
That's fair. So this is just my view, and I don't know for sure. I can't get inside AOC's head, but what I feel she was doing is similar to what Bernie was doing whenever he was backing Democrats. He did not agree with most of what Democrats wanted to do. he was trying, in my opinion, to play the game so that he could get some good for people, because he realized if he's this one person that gets constantly pointed to as like the socialist, crazy communist guy, even though he's not, but that's how they frame him. No one takes you seriously, and you can't get anything done. So what he was trying to do is like meet in the middle to a certain extent. And what happened? He got fucked. He got fucked numerous times over and over again. And now
Debbie
he's like
Wasserman Schultz is the one that fucked him over in the primary.
Yep.
She was the head of the DNC at the time.
Well, other Democratic people, they don't hide it very well that they have a disdain for them. The establishment Democrats, they don't like them because they're not about their interests. Their interests are the same as like establishment Republicans. They're bought off by the same people.
Well, Bernie kind of has this, like, he's kind of like a Marcus Aurelius, a clean cut for the people. He can live a Spartan lifestyle, basically, where it means bare minimum.
Yeah.
And make do with that and be happy. And they hate him for that.
Yeah.
Because when Bernie was mayor of Burlington, he walked to the grocery store every time, like all the places and stuff. He was like part of the community. Like whenever they didn't have enough people to plow snow in the winter, he would hop in a truck and plow snow in the streets. And he was very involved and for the people and, part of the people.
Right. So, well, to get back into what I was saying there. So I think what Bernie was doing is what AOC was doing. Now, I could be wrong. And if it comes out that she's bought off, then I will clearly be like, well, fuck AOC. I guess there's only one legit person there, and that's Bernie. But I'm still sort of hopeful, to be honest. Maybe I'm naive, but like just yesterday, I saw her on Crystal Kyle and Friends, I think. No, it was on Sam Cedar's show. And she was being clear and direct that we're complicit in a genocide. She even used the word genocide, which is a clear indication where she stands.
Oh.
You'll notice that the establishment Dems won't use that word.
Okay.
But
I'll give it.
So it is true that she was acting like she didn't know anything about it before. And that is sketchy, and I won't deny that. But I think she was trying not to ruffle the feathers of the other Democrats because she has to. This is politics. She has to play the game. She has to decide where she's going to fight and when she's going to conserve it and leave it be for now and come up to it when it's like a more direct threat. That's what I think is going on. But again, I could be wrong. I don't know a whole lot about her.
Well, it could be like what's his face, bald motherfuckers from PA here. He got with the populist vote, acted all Bernie and as soon as he got power, he just turned his back on everybody.
That's true. It is possible. So far, I don't have that general feeling from her. She's still a member of the what's the socialist group of America? It's Democratic Socialists of America. She's been a member since before she was in office and never left. She represents them.
And she's a woman too, so she sticks to her principles a lot more, I say, than men.
Possibly. So far, I haven't seen her back off. That does help a little bit, especially for a lot of people. I
noticed a lot of women, when they get into a career, they get very hyper focused on getting to a certain position, and they will do whatever it takes to get there.
It's true. Well, her reaction so far has, maybe she's really good at acting. That's possible, but
nah,
she got shitted on by the Dems, who just voted her out as what was it, chair, lead, whatever, and they asked her about how she felt about it. Do you feel like the Democrats have turned their backs on you? And she's like, no. I hold a position as a fringe. I'm the working class person. I fight for the working class, similar to Bernie. And there's only two of us. She didn't say this, but it's true. So she's like, we are going to be met with opposition no matter what we do. So she all instead of taking it and like being bitter, she took it as, look how close I got. The fact that it was even narrow, like a narrow margin or anywhere near, means that we're gaining traction. And that's how we should be looking at it. That was her message anyway. Maybe she's a really good actor, but it seemed legit to me.
And to go back to your socialist thing, naming people socialists, that don't really have effect anymore, because that was really to scare the boomers who grew up through the Red Fear, the 60s and the 70s, commies.
Well, they're trying to bring it back. They're trying to redo that same tactic. I don't know if it's working or not. I hope it's not.
Well, we are in an information warfare, like TikTok using like algorithmic shit to brainwash people. I mean, just bombarding people's Facebook pages with just one side of, an issue on everything. They just see one perspective only.
Right.
And then, yeah, I mean, it's just, you get crazy people then.
True. Did I answer your question, Rash?
Yeah. Like I said, I mean,
okay.
I'm unsure about her. I don't know one way or the other. I'm just unsure. I just lost some confidence in her lately. Just this year, I saw confidence in her. So I'll see where it goes. I mean, I used to love her before that. I absolutely adored her. I thought she was great. Now I'm a little bit, I want to see where she goes.
That's fair, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being skeptical with our government. And how many times we've had people like ride this fake populism bullshit and then like use it for their own ends. That's what Trump did. That's what he's doing right now.
But it worked a second time.
I know. And that is why, and I'll say it again. The first time I was like, okay, we're filled with stupid people that don't know anything, and they saw a guy that kind of appealed to them. And so they were like, oh yeah, like let's get him in there. And they didn't know anything about anything. They were low information voters, but they were relatively innocent, is what I told myself. Mm-hmm. You can't say that now. So that means like half of the fucking population is like, or maybe not half, but MAGA people, they're evil. They're evil. Like I've always made excuses for them, but I'm fucking naive. They're evil people.
I wouldn't say evil in this way. It's just blissful ignorant. They don't retain like the information they should. They're more focused on just nonsensical bullshit like these reality shows, or what bullshit am I going to buy next, or things that shouldn't really matter.
That's true, but like even your average person, I don't think that they're not aware that Trump was fucking indicted for being a rapist. It made news everywhere, and like so it's like
people, I talk to people
one after another. Go ahead.
Like there's people still clueless about that. Like all his things, like the Epstein thing, everything. They're just, I never heard a thing about it. Like, and it's like, are you serious?
So one thing is, and I brought this up in a recent video, there's a danger of like the fucking, what do you call it? Desensitization effect with Trump. Trump does so much stupid, evil shit that it becomes another fucking Tuesday. And that is dangerous. We don't want to get to a place where he's just fucking destroying everything and the whole fucking country's on fire. And everybody's like, well, that's just Trump, dude. Why are you bringing it up? That's Trump. Like, obviously, that's what he's going to do. Like, no, dude. Like, we can't get to that. It's terrible that it's happening. And but this is the thing. So, like, all of the things that he does over and over, only so many people, at least in my belief, can go, that's just the Democrat. That's the establishment attacking Trump because he's a threat to them. So they use this conspiratorial logic that like everything is a lie, that Trump's really a good man that cares about people.
Well, that's why he really plays to the Christians, because the whole Christian thing is victim mentality. I'm always the victim. Christians are always a victim of everything. They're the majority, but yet they're living under tyranny. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
It's only when they perceive it's not even necessarily a threat. If they perceive that there's the slightest challenge to any of their ideas, then it becomes this fucking cry fest about how they're
Mm-hmm.
unfairly oppressed. You're right. And it's so sad to see. It's fucked
Victimhood.
up. Yeah, it is. And it's like, it's false victimhood. There's like no more protected, if you want to call it, class in all of American society. Like, you have it all. You don't have to pay taxes, at least for the actual religious clergy themselves. Like, there's so many ways that you're protected. And like this is another thing. They like to frame it as an attack when it's really just freedom of speech and freedom of religion, which is kind of entailed with that within that. Like, if someone else wants to like say, "Oh, I'm actually a Muslim," or "I'm Jewish," whatever. Well, they've done this weird thing where they've kind of incorporated Jewish as part of Christianity, but that's beside the point. So someone says they're Muslim or something, then like they're attacking Christianity. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is America. Like, we were founded on fucking freedom of religion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
Well,
so
if you look
crazy.
at the numbers, the third largest religious group are nones.
I'm going to mute myself for a while, yeah?
Third largest.
Okay. The third highest religious group for what?
Like rankings of population wise, like Christians, Muslims, nones are number 3 now. So
Right.
Atheists. So it's people are losing their religion en masse.
Yes, and I see it as a good thing, but it's not happening quickly enough, in my opinion.
It also it makes people not fear repercussions for their actions.
That is true.
So before people, I mean, they really feared like burning in hell and all this shit, and you're like, oh no, I got to walk a straight line or I'm gonna get fucked up for eternity. And now it's I don't care, so live my do whatever. And
but the weird thing is if you look at it from like a sociological or psychological perspective, some of the most evil shit has been conducted by the clergymen. So it seems to me like maybe they realize that it's not true, but they've decided to use the power of religion to get away with shit and to get personal power. So what you're saying is true among like some people that it works on, that like they have that sort of fear of retaliation deal, so they have to be good. There's someone watching you at all times type thing. But there's always, even through history, been people that go, they're not only against that, but completely in the other direction. Like, you would think if they actually believed in it, they wouldn't be like raping little boys and shit all the damn time.
Well, but they use God as, he can forgive me for my sins, and then they keep asking for forgiveness, and this repetitive circle.
True. So the question is, do they believe that they're going to get forgiven? Because I'm starting to believe they don't believe in him at all. The reason why is because
it's a justification for them doing wrong.
Right. So if they actually believed, then they should be aware that, like, well, God clearly would not condone this. So like, I can't just tell myself it's okay and he'll forgive me no matter what I do. Especially if I'm like not even trying to stop.
Oh, apparently you can just ask Jesus to forgive you for all your sins, and you're forgiven.
If you're Catholic. that's why I think Catholicism is one of the most evil religions on the planet. It literally like just it perpetuates evil, and like, oh, just 3 Bloody Marys and you're good to go. Oh, okay. And then you go like murder people. Sorry, Father, I sinned. But it's
You
fucked.
said something about my mother. I couldn't, let that slide.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
I mean, it's all about perspective too. It's like war. Murder is wrong, but in war, you kill the enemy. Woohoo! That's a good thing. It's all perspective.
It is. So, what do you think about political violence? We've kind of strayed a little bit. I'm more
self-inflicted violence has been some of the things that changed history, like Gandhi's hunger strike, and you had people used to self-immolate and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you do that to yourself, that's on you. I mean, nobody can stop you from harming yourself, really.
But you do. think that there's no place for violence against other people, regardless?
I mean, it's a shame we're at a point where greed is looked at upon as a good thing and not a bad thing as it used to be. Like people used to hate the rich. Now it's everybody thinks they're gonna be rich.
Right. That's what I was saying earlier.
And and I was actually coming across this like theory to me is like it's like maybe this is kind of what the old dragon stories were always about, like slay the dragon. So if you literally said, "Hey, we got to slay the Lord, the King," or something like that, you'd be just drug out into the public square and quartered.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you came up with a story, there was a dragon. He was horrible to the people. He was always taking all their riches and on his hoard of wealth. And we needed a brave knight to slay the dragon.
Well, that's the peasant brain thing. Like, it was easier to control. And that's why I have the theory, and admittedly, this is a conspiracy theory. This is why we have such shitty education, especially for the GOP, because they rely on ignorance to get votes. It's kind of like their whole thing. It's their whole shtick. Hello. So I believe that it's by design.
Oh, yeah, it's a tool for control. It's always kind of been. I mean, it started out as a spiritual thing, a guide for the tribe, like your shamans. They tried to, predict the weather and shit like that to help the tribe progress. But then it came perverted with all the clergymen and all the goofy hats and progressed to now what we have nowadays. It has its own state, like the papal state.
So what I would say, I'm just going to be straight up. I'm more for than against the idea of political violence. And that's not a popular thing to say, and I'm fine with that. But the reason why is because we've tried everything else. And it's only getting worse.
You don't want to say you are, but you are, but you don't want to say you are in a way.
Kind of. Yeah, well, that's kind of what I just did. I'm cool with it. And being cool with it is different than saying, "Hey guys, let's go,"
Yeah, I'm not going to take part in any of that kind of shit, but I mean, if somebody else does it, I mean,
yeah, that's pretty much where I am. So, and the reason why is because what else are we going to do? We do not have a system that even listens to us, that we have no voice. That's becoming more and more clear.
We need an FDR. Somebody ain't gonna take no bullshit and just get it done. But
I don't know if it could happen because he came about in an era that, in my opinion, wasn't anywhere near as corrupt. Like
but they were in hard times.
That's true.
So hard times are what brings you strong men, because that's who's gonna rise to the top. Because all the other ones are gonna crumble. As soon as things get hard for these soft-handed men that never worked a day in their life, they don't know hardship whatsoever. As soon as it gets hard, they're gonna go somewhere and just off themselves, self-delete, and that's gonna be. That's why you see rich people. When rich people lose a bunch of money or divorce and lose everything, they just off themselves. They can't stand to be poor.
Yeah, that is true.
So you have your strong ones, like your Roosevelts kind of people, Rough Riders.
So I guess it could come about due to populism, and we're kind of in a populist period right now where everybody's anti-establishment for a good reason. The problem is people like Trump happen, where he's 100% clearly establishment. He's a shill for everything elites want and everything, but he plays this role as if he's like the outcast. He's the dude who's going to fight it.
See, I don't believe any of his bullshit. See, none of it seems like, I just see it as babbling nonsense most of the time. He just rambles about really nothing coherent most of the time. I forget what they call him, weave or whatever bullshit. Like, I don't know how it's like some kind of voodoo spell he just casts on the American people, and they just blindly follow just catchwords and shit, and that's it.
I agree with you, but regardless of how we can't figure it out or why they're stupid, ignorant, whatever, it's happening and it's working. And so
we just got to cut social media, kill social media, and just, that's like a brainwashing tool.
Maybe, but how do you like if we get rid of one, another will pop up? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, like Blue Sky is already popping up to replace Twitter.
I see it as a positive thing because it's not a right-wing echo chamber.
Well, and it's the more variety you have, the better, more competition and stuff. I mean, we need more competition. That's what we don't have anymore is competition in most industry.
I agree. It's kind of again by design, and we've allowed it. We don't have any antitrust laws anymore that are enforced.
Yeah, just Reagan, Bush, even Obama, Trump, just deregulating everything and just giving everything to the rich. I mean, it's
Yep. And he doesn't even hide it. He's just straight up about it, and nobody cares. Well, not literally nobody, but big picture. Like, if that happened and it was just clear, like some of the things he's done, like later on he would be running for president. I would never even think about voting. And like, either they don't care, or they think he's going to do good stuff that they think is good to the point where they're willing to overlook it.
I'm still just baffled by what took place. To me, it's still like 15 million Democrats decide, I'm not going to vote now.
I think Bernie I think there's a lot of answers. We're all, not all, but a lot of people are looking for this one big thing. I think it's a lot of things that like added up. But I think Bernie was right about one thing. Democrats felt like that the Democratic establishment let them down. That they didn't fight for the working class to the extent they should have. Also, there's the Palestine deal. More and more now, you can't control people to the extent you used to. Like, it used to be the only news you got was the fucking whatever o'clock news on one channel, and you could control narratives easily. Now we have the internet, and people are learning what we're being told here by mainstream media about fucking Palestine and Israel is bullshit. It's all lies.
Oh, it still gets filtered too. There's lots of content gets blocked that we don't see.
Oh, yes, that's true. That's why I like, what is it called? I can't think of the name. Telegram. Telegram is a great sort of, it's like a social media sort of service, and they don't censor anything. You can see it can actually get kind of rough. Like, you can see people getting gunned down in fucking Ukraine and shit.
Yeah, I've seen some of that, like blurred out videos on YouTube, like that on Twitter. They have that kind of stuff too. Just real gory, which that alone is desensitizing people. Which to me is we're going through a repeat. So 1918 to 1920, we had the Spanish flu pandemic, went through the world, killed millions. Well, we just had our COVID out pandemic. Well,
Yeah.
not long after that, we had the 1939 Great Depression. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to the stock market. Well, the whole world's literally tanking right now. Everything's just
it got worded that Trump like tried to make an appearance at the stock exchange, and everything dropped immediately as soon as he got there. It was hilarious. It's like the stock market hates Trump.
Like, yeah, I mean, the Fed had to cut, I forget what it was now, but they can't basically give rate cuts as much for the coming year because of Trump's tariffs and all the bullshit he's planning. So they got to, brace for that. And all these companies are now basically liquidating people, firing people en masse, and it's going to get ugly real fast since this fuck around, find out phase.
Right. True. And I hate to say it, I see to some extent Trump is a positive thing, and I know that's crazy to hear me say. The reason why is because he's taking something that's already established, this sort of, it's a worldwide sort of anti-establishment sort of feel, like a mood going on. Like incumbents are losing everywhere. And so he is about to do some shit that we've never seen before. like some absolute terrible, like, holy fuck, you can't make this shit up type stuff. And we're already have so many people that are pissed off. I think this might be the catalyst we need for serious change, like a revolution. Like, I think we need it, and it'll take something big to cause it. Like, we can't have just business as usual, and like it'll take fucking 50 more years for people to get pissed off enough.
But the thing is, we don't need 110 backwood hillbillies running around with AR-15s thinking they control shit.
That's true. So one danger with that is we're so divided that we may get pissed off, and then we decide we obviously have different ways to go about reforming this new system, and then we just end up killing each other.
Yeah,
and then who wins? China and Russia. That's
exactly.
Who wins. So that's true. It's honestly something that I didn't put a whole lot of thought into, because I'm so pissed off at elites that I'm like, that's my number one. I'm like laser focused on it.
That's why I argue with Rash all the time about. He's like, "Oh, America should fall." And dude, do you understand the repercussions if America falls? Do you understand like how world trade would be affected and so many weapons falling into so many wrong hands? Like, the world would be in utter chaos.
I agree, although I don't know to what extent. So I think we're not good guys. I'll be cleared on that.
No,
but I think that we're the least of three evils, and that we keep power balance in check, so that like China, they play this game where they have the Belt and Road Initiative, and they play nice quite a bit of the time.
South China Sea.
Yes, but that would not happen if we weren't around, because there would be no one Taiwan to challenge
them. They
would
have Vietnam. They would have.
They would probably have most of the world. Like, no one would be able to challenge them.
Well, there is a scale size. So, okay, an empire can only get so big before you can't manage the damn thing. I mean, we've seen Rome get massive, and then it just becomes too unmanageable.
Mm.
And it'll crumble on itself. Civil wars happen, rebellions. I mean, China has a long history of just trying to keep the people from fucking rebellion.
Right, that's true.
That's
and
why
they're pretty
so
harsh.
Censorship. Yeah, exactly.
They
that's why
there's
censorship.
Because
they know their fucking history. Like, if you look at China's history, the most bloody civil war ever is in China. It was like 700 million people or something like that. No, that's high. I mean, it was a lot. 800,000 people. I mean, something like that. Like, died over a guy claiming to be the brother of Jesus.
Damn.
So, I mean, but they have a long history. Like, they're trying to form, and then it shatter into like 6 different kingdoms, and then it would form again, shatter apart into like 3 kingdoms. I mean, it's long history of that. So them trying to keep the people focused in all in one boot step, basically, is a challenge for them.
Well, alone. I think that we changed things drastically. And we don't do imperialism like the Romans did, although we did adopt a lot of their ways. We do it by making them subservient to the dollar. And what we'll do similar to what Russia is doing now, special military operation. But we'll like fund groups that are like fucking insurgency groups, and we've done this over and over and over and over.
You gotta look when did that start mostly? The Cold War, after Russia started backing one side, and then we fucking started a counterinsurgency. So Russia, during the Cold War, Russia was going around trying to promote communism in all these different countries. America was trying to promote capitalism. So they got into these conflicts of who's better. Well, America pulled its weight with like UN and stuff to get embargoes put on places like Cuba and such. Anybody that basically became communist, they got shut out of the world markets. They got cut off. And so they're, it looked bad for them because they couldn't trade with people. They suffered. And so therefore it made communism look bad.
Right.
And we've been on this back and forth Cold War bullshit since the 50s after World War II ended. And that's where a lot of this leads back to Reagan selling weapons to the Taliban to fund the Contras in South America, to disable South America so we could set up oil distribution networks down there. I mean, A lot of this shit goes back decades.
True. So, but there's one thing that I can say that just throws in anyone who would make the case that we're like, we do these things for like good, but because of the reasons that we claim. When I say we, I mean the government. Like when we go like we're fighting terrorism, like this is a dictator that's like taking away human rights and stuff. So all I got to say is one thing: we back Saudi Arabia. That's it. That's the end of that entire argument. Like Saudi Arabia is worse than Gaddafi. Like he's like 5 Gaddafis and like way worse.
There's something like 17 and 19 9/11 hijackers are from freaking Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm. And we let them do whatever the fuck they want because they're in bed with us. Like fucking Trump
OPEC
made insane amounts of money.
Crisis. So how Saudi Arabia became a thing is they were a very fierce tribe of people in the area. And I think it was the British or somebody who gave them a bunch of weapons basically and gave them, permission. Hey, take over all Saudi Arabia. And they went through and wiped out all tribes. And pretty much then it's only one royal family that people had to deal with. But they were like the most savage. Like
I never knew anything about their history. Well, their past history, distant history, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, there used to be like multiple tribes. Like the Saudi family, there's like 17 or so brothers. Well, I don't know. They went through a kind of a war. The father died, and they all were like Game of Thrones, battling for the fucking head of the throne, killing each other and shit. That was like 10 years ago. They were just slaughtering each other, blowing each other's helicopters up and shit. Craziness. But to them, that's every fucking day. So, I mean, what we see is extreme. To them, that's just another day in fucking Dubai.
That's true. But, like, it still shows this clear double standard and that we're not what we claim to be.
We are usually we're reactive. Like, we didn't get into World War II until Pearl Harbor. And, like, we were asked to go into Vietnam to clean up because it was a human atrocity or whatever's going on. So, I mean, we usually get called into this shit. Bush, I mean, that was a 9/11, but it was completely aimed at the wrong fucking place for the wrong reasons. Like, that was bullshit. I think Bush Sr., he was all right. He got in, got Saddam, stopped the whole Kuwaiti bullshit, and we pulled right out. 24 hours, done, in and done. And that's, I think, how we should have worked in most situations.
Yeah. I wouldn't have too much of a problem if that's what we did. But we've started moving away from that. Now it's always
money,
like
Halliburton, Boeing, Raytheon.
Yeah, military industrial complex. That's very powerful.
Trillions of dollars.
And people are like, yeah, Elon's going to cut the Pentagon. No, he's not. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
He's going to probably increase the budget and give himself a quarter of it.
Of course. He's already making insane of money off the Pentagon. Like, it's funny. They're going to cut all of the social fucking safety net programs. It's the only way to get what Trump wants.
AI is coming along too right now, so they just got some crazy AI shit going on too. So who knows? We get the Terminator and come save us from the Elon.
Well, like Odyssey brought up, we will have to look into some sort of universal basic income because of the rate at which AI is moving. Like there's no way around it that I can think of.
It's about to automate a lot of shit away. And here's what this almost seems organized, like how the whole Trump getting in and he's like the fall guy for the whole fucking collapse of the world, basically. So they can establish basically a one world currency because all markets right now are fucking crashing, like everything, Canada, China, you name it. It's just like, what the fuck's going on?
Right.
Like, it just doesn't seem, it's surreal feeling almost.
It's crazy. It's like every day something happens to where I'm like, how? Like, what? It's like a fucking, like, crazy fucking reality TV show or something.
Rash looks so stoic driving there. He gets that smile on his face.
That's not his leg. He's got his penis and like wrapped in some denim.
Oh boy.
Driving with the penis.
I don't know how people ever got roadhead. That to me, I don't see how that all worked. You're driving like a 5
I
speed,
couldn't.
kneeing them
There's
in
no
the
way.
head.
I've never had it happen. I've had like some just hand action, not actually like a hand job, but just touch, through like pants or something. But even that, like, I have ADHD. I have trouble fucking concentrating anyway. If I'm driving down the road and something shiny like a piece of glass, I'm like, shiny, and I'm damn near going into a tree. Like, that's a
It's funny you
bad
say
idea.
that. When I'm a passenger, my cousin used to call them Joshy moments because I'd be talking about something and all of a sudden I'd see something like, ooh, and then like stop and point to it. Even like Joshy moment.
That's hilarious.
But when I'm driving, yeah, I'm hyper focused. Like on the road, I don't even look to the radio. Like I know that shit by like reaching forward and knowing where it is by
I
muscle
do it
memory.
too, but I do it because I have to. So like I hyper focus because I know that it's so easy for me to lose focus.
But do you ever get that where you're driving though? Like you driven this road over and over, and you're thinking about something, and all of a sudden you stop thinking, and you're like, "Wait, how did I drive that last mile or so? I don't remember any of it."
Yes, although it's been a little while, like little space out moments. That happens at work a lot. Like especially if you do some sort of work that's monotonous, it's like the same thing every day.
Mm-hmm.
That happens a lot with that. Driving, I tend to be kind of on edge driving because there's so many, like I can't speak for everyone, but where I live, it constantly grows every year and traffic's getting out of control and there's so many freaking idiots on the road everywhere. People pulling out in front of you, people driving like 90 and you're going like maybe 5-10 miles per hour over the speed limit. Like you have to worry about other people more than you got to worry about anything. So like I'm always on edge when I'm on the road.
I don't drive a lot, so I mean, I walk if I can walk. I'd rather get out. It's better for me. I need to get my legs. Kind of gotta work your legs as much as you work your upper body. You kind of look funny. Like got some like turkey legs there going.
That's true. That's true.
But I like just being on foot. To me, it's you get to. I don't have no phone, so I mean, it's not like I'm looking at a phone or nothing. I'm always just looking around, taking in. Hey, look at that's nice. That's that changed. I like to take in the environment around me and actually live in the moment. Kind of like I don't see people do that anymore. Really,
it's a good thing, and I think most people would benefit greatly if they learn to do it. Especially getting off of their fucking phones. That's like one of the worst things that's happened. The big social dynamic changes. Like you literally see people like go on like first dates they've never even met before, and they're like trying to decide whether or not they can like mesh with one another, and they're both like this. Like what the fuck? Like I don't know.
I think it's kind of weird too because like at work, I don't have a phone, so I sit there and actually hold conversations with people, and some of them just they don't know how to talk to people anymore.
Yeah.
Like they're just socially awkward just because of just not doing it anymore, really.
Well, I've never been a very social person, so I don't talk to people very much. But I, at least from my point of view, I don't do this shit all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not always lost in this other world unless I'm playing Warhammer or something. That's a whole different story.
Well, that's vacation.
Yeah, well, that for me, that's like how I fucking let shit go. That's how I fucking escape for a little while because to me, this fucking world is shit.
Yeah, to me, that's if you look at the thousands of game hours, that's pretty much what that was. World is shit right now. I don't want to be here. I just tuned out, and I was in a video game for hundreds of hours, and a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah.
I create my own world, become whoever I want to be. Freedom, money to make. Money for me, money isn't a thing in games like a big thing because money is just a way to things, but you can always get more money. You can always
Right.
find ways to get more money, and it's the things you want in life.
Mm-hmm. Well, you
The
can
places you
kind
want
of
to
turn
go.
reality into that if you change your perspective. because it sort of works in a similar way. The difference is you're actually going to starve to death if you don't have it in real life.
Well, yeah.
And that's a fair difference, to be honest. But like, I feel like many people would be so much more content if they didn't make money their end all be all. It shouldn't be. When you die, you're not taking that shit with you.
It's the destination.
Right.
And how you get there.
Right. But at the same time, you have to care to some extent. Well, for me, I tend to look at things through the lens of the big picture. When I get pissed off, especially about money, it's unfair for me that I'm getting fucked. That it's not like that. It's that a vast majority of the entire fucking population's getting fucked.
But this has always been the case. I mean, it's not something new. I mean, we're just unlucky who we're born to. It's all roll of dice to who your parents are.
That is, well, no. I don't mean as far as class goes. And like, I agree with you, by the way, on like generational poverty. So I do believe that there should be less of like, you're stuck there forever, because in our country, it's bad compared to many other countries. But like, what I'm talking about is overall how income is distributed in the first place. Even if you're not born into like a completely poor family, it's like everything is basically rigged. I mean, it's not. And also, I agree with you that it's always been that way, and it has. But I also want to say that doesn't mean that it's the same. It's worse than it has ever been by a long shot. It's like, well, when I say ever, I don't mean like fucking feudalism, because that clearly we're not going to hold a candle to that.
Well, even thinking back to like the time of the Wild West, there was no safety standards on the railroad. You had people losing arms, fingers. I mean, there was no OSHA. Like, there was no safety for like. There was no pension for like retirements. There was no like Medicare. Nothing.
That's very true, but I would say that you like. I know you're not trying to do this, but like, you can't make a fair comparison to the two, because we've gotten out of that and now we're moving backwards. So it's like,
I think people should learn. They need to learn the history in that aspect of where we came from and what we gained. So therefore they value the things that we have gained, like the 40-hour work week and the overtime pay, and, you know, the workers' rights to certain, the unionize, let alone. Like, there's times when the robber barons brought in the military to gun down union workers because they wanted to unionize at the coal mines. That's where the term redneck comes from.
Makes sense. Well, we're starting to see that again, by the way. We saw it with Amazon people protesting, and like, completely illegal as fuck. Cops, or I think it was in New York, the NYPD fucking went and this dude got out of his Amazon truck to protest with the other ones, and he got shoved back into his vehicle and shit, and then arrested.
Yep.
So it's like the police are showing who they're for.
Well, see, now they're people. Republicans with was it Citizens United have made corporations people. So I mean, they have rights in America.
Well, yeah, that's the most retarded thing I've ever heard, is that fucking money is speech. Money is speech. Really? It's freaking crazy.
And it only works for the top 10%.
Yep. Well, no, they'll say it's completely fair. You have it too. You just aren't, you don't have merit, so you're not worth as much.
Disposable income.
Right. Well, but they'll also make the case that there's a reason for that. They don't look at the fact that it's usually like nepotism. They'll look at it like,
my uncle tried to do that shit where he makes 100,000 a year. I make 30,000 a year, but I'm supposed to live at the same standard he is, but yet on the, you know, a third. That's bullshit.
But
he's a Republican.
All of them, they all do that. They discount all luck that's ever involved, and there's always a ton of luck in everyone's situation, even if you don't want to admit it. And then they'll say like, well, all of these people that don't have anything, they're lazy and don't do anything, and I have worked my ass off, and I'm smart, and I've held my nose to the grindstone, and that's why they're successful. And the truth, that's most of the time that's not true.
A lot of it's just who you can network with. Your parents know you can get in. Parents a lot of times get these kids into these jobs where they don't have to do shit. Just sit at a desk, show up every day, and make a big ass salary.
Right. And so, and again, I have to clear this every time because they love to fucking like straw man you. In no way have I ever made the case that people should just have shit for free or that everyone should be equal.
Well, that's why internships are there. That was to keep the poor people from trying to attain high-end jobs.
Right. Well, also the cost of education works for that same end. If you're the elite and you want to stay the elite, you want it to be this special, tiny little marginal group, then you make it to where only the wealthy can get educated in the first place. So we've tried to move away from that through like grants and systems like scholarships and stuff.
But yeah, on affordable college.
But now they're trying to kill that, and still it's like the cost of college now is holy shit in comparison to like the 70s.
Yeah, one of our local colleges here is like $70,000 a semester.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And you can't justify it. Like if you were to take and go through the books and it was just purely transparent, I guarantee you're not going to find anywhere close to, especially you got to think this is per student. So how much does it cost to pay teachers that don't make shit? You've got course material, you've got the actual building that you teach in. And then you got to think each individual student is paying this much. If you tell me that is what it costs and they're like barely making ends meet, you're fucking crazy. Someone is coming out like fucking insanely rich.
Well, and the thing is, the school's run by the state, so the state don't have to pay taxes to itself. I mean, if they make the school pays, property tax to itself, I mean, that's gonna be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So I'm hoping they don't do that because it just property tax is what pays for the school. So
Right.
let's hope they don't pay for that. But yeah, you got your costs of like water, power, things like that. And they should be and they get paid per student. So I forget what it is, but they get paid per head basically. That's why they get mad if you don't show up because they get paid basically for good attendance and all that.
Right.
So I'm sure they make more than enough because they spent a couple $1 million rebuilding new schools and then consolidating a bunch of small ones into this just huge, massive schools now. And well, one of the guys embezzled a bunch of money and then was found out. But they make a lot of money. I don't know how they can't pay these teachers decent wages, like at least $60,000 a year in these small communities. I mean, that's a decent living.
Well, the answer is they could. They don't want to. It's it's become a corporation and corrupt just like everything else. It's all about making profit.
Well, I guess to a lot of it would be that there's caps on a lot of things, like corporations, like Medicare. It's like $120,000 after the corporations, corporations, people. So the rich people like Trump and so on, after their income, they make a certain amount. They pay an X number to Medicare, and then they're done. They don't have to pay any more the rest of the year because it's capped. Republicans had it capped a couple decades ago. Before that, they had to pay all year round, and we had plenty of money to fund these social programs like Medicare, Social Security, because they actually paid in more than $120,000 a year.
I didn't know all that. Why pay a teacher more than a firefighter or a mechanic? I wouldn't say that they should. I wouldn't say they necessarily should, but if firefighters or mechanics are making they should be adjusted across the board. Everyone should be making more. The issue is that income inequality is at like a high. We've never in our entire fucking history seen it as bad as it is now. That's the problem.
Well, here where I'm at, a lot of it's volunteer firefighters. So it's a lot of
That's
farmers
true.
Volunteer their time.
It's the same.
Can I have a little rant?
A what?
Can I have a little rant?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt. Okay, couple of points. We're talking about the teachers need to get paid more, right? And I agree. What I'm curious about is how do you I mean, in a capitalist system, you can say you make cars for a living, how much the car sells for, how much profit you get, and then how much money there is for you to, okay, fine, give to the workers or to the CEO or whatever. But that's how they figure out how much somebody gets paid. Whereas
aggregate efficiency.
Yeah, but when it comes to teachers who have a different intrinsic worth, their worth is I think we all three of us agree that a good teacher is priceless.
Well, they shape the future.
So you're kind of digging into the root of the problem here, and it's that capitalists look at everything through the lens of profit, and that's stupid. And that's why it would be stupid to privatize the post office, by the way. But so it's a public good. You should not look at it through the everything needs to meet budget, blah blah blah. Like, fucking taxpayers pay taxes for a reason. Use it for shit that we need. Pay teachers what they should be paid, and stop squandering it and giving it to fucking Elon Musk.
Let me get to my point. Let me get to my point. Okay, I'll have to go on a little bit of a tangent, but I swear I'm coming back to it. You go with this Luigi guy shooting the healthcare CEO, right? And it's okay, he murdered one person. The CEO might not have killed anybody, but you could definitely make a great argument that he killed 10% of 1,000 people, as in their life expectancy got shortened because they didn't get the care they needed. So this is one of those things that I actually believe that if one person hurts 100 people by 1% each, that means he's killed the equivalent of one person. And okay, again, it comes back to the teacher thing, where how do you do this equation of how much something is worth in those kinds of cases? Like, what is 1% of your life? Is it losing a finger? Is it losing the ability to run? Maybe, you walk with a limp, that kind of thing. How do you
call it disability?
Yeah, how do you figure these things out? And I think I don't know how to do it. But when you look at the way the healthcare system is set up, and the calculations and the equations they make for every single tiny little thing, even across the board for the capitalist system, they've got these tiny equations for everything. If you do this, I'm going to get 1% of that. They've got it. They could figure this out, but of course, in this system, nobody wants to. And that's the thing.
That's the real answer. Is they'll say budgets, blah blah blah, but then we squander insane amounts of money in the military and pay like hundreds of dollars for a bag of bushings when there's obviously some corruption going on. And then we say, oh, we can't afford it. Sorry, guys, we just don't have the budget. That's a lie. They'll
literally say they can't calculate it when they can. They can calculate anything. You can literally, you drive 5% under the speed limit. I know something about you. I can calculate that. I can put that into a law somewhere, and make money off it or not or whatever. They can calculate everything. So why can't they calculate, hey, this teacher is going to teach this many kids. She is or he is this good at teaching. And so many of these kids are going to bring a benefit to society, make more money. They could figure it out, but nobody wants to.
The more complex you make the system, the more flaws you'll have, or the more people you'll find ways to abuse the system. So to keep everything the most simple and straightforward, is always the best way.
I would agree. I'm just saying they can.
You have teacher pay based on if it's an urban area, like a city, or a small town, village, and the pay would scale depending on how urban.
Paid in those. Sorry, go ahead.
Because living in a village, back where I lived, you could live comfortably on $40,000 a year. That's not an issue. Rent was cheap, so on. But you live in the city, you need to make 70, almost 80,000 a year to live comfortably, pay your rent and all that stuff.
Mm.
It's
Well,
a good question, though. I haven't looked at it through that lens, honestly. I've just looked at it through, obviously, teachers need to make more money because, I mean, they're
I mean,
underpaid.
we're in
They
a society
require.
like
Go ahead.
it takes two. I mean, most households have two incomes, so you have one
Mhm.
household, and then you have the other, and then that becomes your total.
there's a skit by Kay and Peele, I think, or it might be SNL, I'm not sure, where you guys have your American football, and then you have these shows during, after, and all that, talking about how great each particular athlete is. And
Mhm.
this comedy skit did this one where instead of pro footballers, it was teachers. They were engaging. Oh, this teacher's really good. Oh, it's like, wow, she's an amazing up and comer. That's how they should be treated.
I
I
remember all
agree.
my teachers, but I don't remember athletes from the past.
Well, it shows you to some extent, yes, we have systemic issues, and that's like the government, but we also have like this cultural issue to where we fucking worship celebrities and athletes.
Yep.
And like the things that actually matter to everyday people, we treat like who cares? It's so weird.
See, I always thought Alien because I'm like the opposite. I've never understood the idolization of people or bands or any of that. To me, I always thought, like, that's stupid. Like, I
Mhm.
never felt that to where I had to have this need to go see this person or anything like that.
I'm the same. It's weird. Like,
I
there's
had
got to be
people.
some psychological research behind it and why I think it's called parasocial relationships, if I'm not mistaken. But go ahead, I cut you off.
Oh, go ahead. I lost train of thought there. I was kind of, I got pretty stoned. This new strain's pretty good. I got well, not new strain, but an old goodie.
Hell yeah.
I
I'm
think it's
kind of
because
got
of
baked on it.
it's because
Sorry.
we're human and we like stories. Like I'm sure even Gadwin, you have historical people that you consider heroes. I mean, we were talking about Achilles and Hector yesterday, and I mean, we like, as human beings, we like stories. And I know whether they're fictional or not is part of what we do as humans. So I don't say it's
For me,
you
I
can't
always thought it
understand
was
it that
like
we
my
have
uncle.
football heroes.
So, like, my
Okay.
uncle, he's a
Huh?
very strong, hard worker. I mean, to me, that was I didn't like idolize him, but I didn't want to disappoint him. So therefore, I always wanted to try to work in a way at my best as not to disappoint him because he was like the standard for what I needed to be.
It's a spectrum like anything. I see it as positive to a certain extent. If like role model status is
Yeah.
positive, you don't worship them. You don't think that they're like a fucking demigod or something. You
Nope.
just, that's what you, at least certain elements of their personality and their actions, you want to imitate or come close to as like a standard. There's
Well,
nothing wrong with that.
and that's it because he was never drank, he never smoked, he never like gave in to inhibitions or anything like that.
Mhm.
He just kept every day just hard persevered through the hardest events, and I mean he's strong as an ox.
Mhm.
I mean that was the ideal to become especially for what I was doing at the time, doing fencing with him every day and to become I was like the apprentice.
Yeah.
So I mean that was to me. I never had like celebrity anything like that.
I never had. The closest thing I had to it was Cyndi Lauper, and that was more of a crush than anything else. And then I found out that she was fake.
Most of them are.
Like, no, her whole thing, she acts kind of dumbish on purpose. I watched a really old interview, like when she first came on the scene before she was actually Cyndi Lauper. And she talked like a normal person, and she was actually semi-intelligent. And
Wait, is that the one that plays BB on Friends or something like that?
Or Girls Just Want to Have Fun is her most popular song. Is that what you're asking?
Oh, no, okay, yeah. I got confused.
Yep, Time After Time. She's an older, she was popular in the 80s. She came up along with Madonna. They were like, they tried to pit them against one another, and she was more classy, and Madonna tried to like use her looks to get popular.
Or she used her teeth gap to get popular. Dude, this is it. Like, people want the weird people, like the big noses, the weird shaped, whatever. That is the most popular people for the most part. The ones that stand out from the everyday, normal looking people.
To some extent, that's true. Or if they do something, if it's not aesthetic, it can be something their behavior or something that's like,
Yes, they're like Johnny Depp.
yeah, that's true.
They're social oddities, which I think a lot of that is more autism. So autism has probably been a big player in many things, like Shakespeare, Einstein. I mean, it goes back all the way, and we just never thought of it as that, as a mutation or a evolution of the human brain. And just accept it as them being odd.
Right.
They're not like the rest of us.
Right. It's that typical sort of. I always liken it to the right wing because it's more common with them. It's that otherism. It's that they're different in some way, so they've got to be bad. Like,
I don't understand them, so therefore they're wrong.
Right. And well, it's also fear. It always goes back to fear. It's fear of the unknown. They don't understand how their brain works, so it's like, to them, the natural reaction is to fear them in some way. But that, especially if they're male, that fear manifests as anger.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's going on with trans right now.
Yep.
Like, obviously, trans people are not a threat to anyone. Like,
No.
they can't be. So, like,
so yeah, it's like hilarious. Walking around with like AR-15s.
Yeah, exactly. So it shows that the real reason why they have this innate sort of like this visceral reaction is that they fear them because they don't understand them, and it changes their whole overly simplistic worldview. But it's why they always do this things like there's man, there's woman. And it's like they have like this extraordinarily low IQ take on everything, and they can only view the world through this extremely black and white binary lens.
And some of that is the problem too. Like, there's developmental issues. So mother was drinking whenever she was pregnant, or substance abuse, malnutrition, dropped on their head as a baby.
Right.
I mean, you have those conditions where those people just are dumb as shit, and it's not any of their own doing. It was just, this is the world they're in, and they're just making the best of it. And
yeah, you should come up, Walter Grace. It's too difficult to carry a conversation when like someone will be talking and then I'm like reading. It's too difficult to do this in text.
Well, I get distracted here at times too. I read over here at the text and I lose my train of thought, and I'm like, oh shit.
It happens to me a lot, especially because it's kind of my job to put it on the screen and shit. So I'll be reading it and put it on the screen, and then like you or someone else will be talking, and I'm like, yeah, and then you're like, so what do you think? And I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I try, but I'm not good at it.
ADHD brain.
Yep. Takes some getting used to.
I've been doing it all my life. But I can occupy myself. Like, I was that kid, I could sit in the back of the car with my grandparents, go on a 10-hour drive to Vermont, and just sit back there in the back, be quiet and content the whole time.
Right. I've learned little tricks. They're like little cheat codes to get around things like music. A lot of people that aren't ADHD, or maybe I'm a specific type of ADHD and this is only me, but a lot of people are like, doesn't that distract you because it's music? And it does the opposite. Because my brain can't latch on to everything else around me because it's focused on what I'm doing in the music. So my brain doesn't have all this shit to grab, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's where I was told, like, I have this what's called hypervigilance. So like any kind of movement, sounds around me, I'm instantly like, what's that? Always trying to look at everything that moves around me and shit. But yeah, if you have music on, you can kind of block out a lot of that and just focus. The background noise, block out all that shit.
That's how it works for me, and it's similar to like if I can't go to sleep because my brain won't stop, I'll put a fan on, and the fan causes this constant humming noise, and that allows your brain to fixate on that.
Dude, I seen this video on YouTube. It was a fan mixed with like lightning, rain on a roof with like thunder and lightning in it by request. But they had the fan in there. That was great because And then many of people like like actually my friend growing up, I say you're very similar to. I mean, at his house, it'd be middle fucking winter, cold as fucking his house. He has a fucking fan on eye next to his fucking bed, just fucking blasting. I'm there freezing, like motherfucker. He's all curled up in his blanket, but he couldn't sleep without it. Oh, good memories.
So
his grandmother was a bitch. I remember her coming over for one time winter. She's like, "Oh, well, he's going with me. You gotta go home." I was like, "Give me a ride home." She's like, "No, there's not enough room." I had to fucking ride my bike like a mile and a half home in a blizzard with just like a windbreaker on. Oh, I was fucking frozen when I got home.
Damn. I've been in a lot of those situations because I have weird heat tolerance. I overheat easily compared to normal. That's the real reason why I wear tank tops all the time.
Yeah, I get warm. I can go out in a hoodie.
Yeah, so the issue is anywhere you go, like if in a workplace or something, things are designed for normal people, and they should be. I'm not complaining about it, but like I overheat like fucking crazy. So it's like no matter where I go, everybody's like at like 70 degrees Fahrenheit is like room temperature for most people. To me, it's about 60 or 55. So like I'm roasting everywhere. So I only wear tank tops and I'll wear just like a little windbreaker no matter where I go. So if I ever break down or something, it don't take long to where even if you're like me and you don't handle heat well and you handle cold well, if you're out in the cold, like walking or some shit, you're going to fucking freeze to death quickly. Yeah. So I've been in that situation many times.
I was always, at least I had a bike most of the time. But still, even when it's that cold out, you're like shivering trying to ride a bike and it's like fucking wind just howling. I mean, it was bad out there. We had just like, it was a valley, just nothing but farm fields, clear farm fields. So the damn drifts would get so bad. Like you had to get off, push your bike through the damn things because there was no riding through them.
Damn.
It don't get like that anymore. I mean, it snowed today. It's been snowing for a while, but it's like almost rain.
Yeah, it was doing it when I was coming back from picking a cat up from the Humane Society, and it was so nothing that as soon as the flakes fell, they would turn to water on your windshield.
Mm-hmm. And the roads here, like it's been snowing all day, but the roads are bare. I mean, it didn't even accumulate in the roads. It's so warm yet.
Yeah, the ground's too warm. I don't know about there, but here, we've always joked about North Carolina in this way that like the seasons can't make up their mind. Like one day it'll be like fucking 20 degrees, and then the next day it's like 60. And it's been like that for like the last week.
It was like 50 here on like Tuesday or something like that. But then the next day it's like 30.
It's crazy.
It's just I had roses on the rose bushes until like the end of November. They were still blossoming. Like
I'm surprised like birds aren't getting in trouble because they can't figure out what time of year it is and shit.
What shit? Like my neighbor, when I was shoveling snow on the sidewalk, I was talking to him, and his flowers and stuff are trying to sprout because they think it's spring because plants are triggered off like this amount of daylight with each day. So once we get to the solstice here, it will start shifting the other way. But they get triggered by it, and it's being so warm. So it's by time of day, like, amount of light, and then temperature, they'll start growing again because they think it's spring. So they're gonna, waste their seeds basically because they're gonna grow, and winter's gonna come, freeze them, kill them, and then you're gonna have a lot of bald spots. A lot of plants are gonna die because of that.
If it's a big enough issue and things are different enough to be a mass deal, that could cause serious problems.
Or like blossoms for like cherry trees and peach trees, stuff like that. So, yeah, climate change is a big factor. I should rash something. I put it on the Discord, but basically, there's like the whole conveyor system of the ocean's like breaking down, and it's like if it does, it'll shift like whole like belts of where like rain monsoons go just south farther, and like where rash is at now, just go dry and drought.
They're just trying to scare me. It's not going to work. Also, it makes me think Chinese. Damn it.
Oh, well, I mean, look at the weather patterns of a lot of places are changing. I mean, it's so dramatic, like the floods across Europe and then the droughts that hit. It's just
That's flooding all over
like,
Asia. So.
Yeah. Well, every 1 degree centigrade, we go up at 7% more water with each like rainstorm because of just the amount of evaporation that occurs with that temperature. So, I mean, here soon it's going to be at 14% more rainfall with each passing storm. I mean, it's going to be a deluge. People are getting like a month's worth of rain in like a couple hours. Like Trubs.
Oh, yeah.
I almost decided, because we had like a 24 hours heads up, I almost built me an ark and like put a bunch of animals on there.
Trubs in his kitty ark. I can see one of those like Fisher Price boats with you in it and then
Oh geez, Walter Grace, are you one of those people that thinks so I have to be specific on what I mean here. Climate change in terms of man-made, obviously man contributes to an issue that's causing the world to heat at an accelerated rate compared to normal. You think that that's a hoax? By the way, I'm going to have to close here soon, so we should wrap things up. I'm already like 30 minutes past. It's become
what are we wrapping up?
Well, we were supposed to be having a political we've kind of jumped all over the place, and I'm cool with it.
That's what two ADHD minds do.
That is true. People should get used to it. Vastly over exaggerated. So the thing is go ahead, Rash.
In Starship Troopers, there's that scene in the classroom where the lecturer says something about political violence is the only way that things ever change. I can't remember the quote. You'd have to look it up. But it's something about political violence or force or something like that is the only way you ever change anything. And I think that might be true because, I mean, we talk about, it's bad that Luigi went and but I mean, as any American can say, and actually anybody around the world, what the hell is the government doing to us? By the way, in Malaysia, they're making a law that police may not might not need warrant anymore to arrest you. They might not need a warrant. They can arrest you and then figure out if you've done anything.
Yeah. See, and
I mean, we get political violence all the time.
So that's the thing. It's fine when they do it, but when a normal everyday working man citizen does it, oh my God, we can't allow this. This is evil. And then they try to brainwash people into feeling like they're bad people because they're not putting up with it anymore. Like sometimes, this is where I see like every few generations, it's always the youngest people. And I mean this in a broad way. So I'm not talking shit about you if you're older, but like in a broad way, it's always the young people that fucking stand up to do shit. And I don't agree with this. We should all be fucking fighting the fight. And like, we look to it's always the young people that are like, hey, this is going on. And the funny thing is they have the least information. Like in terms of like, they haven't been on this planet as long, right?
Well, in a way. So there is this kind of thing here, like the older generations, you go back to like the boomers, they didn't have the education we do now, so they weren't taught necessarily how to critically think and break things down as though, say, millennials and onward do.
Yeah, I think
thinking
it's
is
the same
key.
throughout
Teaching critical thinking, it will go far.
I agree. Well, they're not going to let that happen. They're going to do everything they can to fight it.
Yes, they do not want minds expanded. That's kind of one of the big anti-weed and anti-mushroom things.
By the way, when I'm talking about political violence, we're not talking about me individually. We're talking about everyone. We're talking about like in a big picture sense here. Go ahead, Arash.
Okay, I'm going to give you a small picture. I don't know if either of you were around. I think Trobbs would have been, Gads maybe, but way back when, do you remember when I was really angry at a particular CEO? It was
I don't.
basic. It was my father was on medicine, and this CEO in the US, of course, was shipping the medicine that my dad needed to Asia, to the Asia region, and my dad.
Oh
That's where
yeah.
my
The
dad was getting
Martin
this medicine.
Shkreli. Martin
No,
Shkreli.
it was
He
way
was a
before
really
him.
bad one.
Yeah, yeah, but way before him. But the thing is, that medicine that he was shipping was all past the use by date, and I blamed him, this one particular CEO, for killing my dad. And
Mhm.
I had just inherited around that point, and I was actually asking around in chat, can anybody who's got some bloody computer skills find where this guy is? And I'm going to use my inheritance to go after this one guy. So, and
Right.
at the time, I was around 30 years old. So this is like
Mhm.
20 years ago. Over time, I've forgotten his name. I've even forgotten the company that he's supposed to be in charge of. It just you get older, and it's like, oh, okay, other things came up. But you have to have this thing of you have to be this young person driven at that time and have the resources to do it right then and there. But once
Mhm.
you
Well,
get older,
it's
you sort of
emotion.
mellow out. Yeah, I'm just saying that's an anecdote.
I
The
can
more
see it like that, and I think it does happen on the big picture a lot. But I also see this sort of "it is what it is" attitude, and people just go, "Well, it is what it is. It's how it was when I was young. It's how it will be." Blah blah blah. And like, I see it as a mistake. Like,
Yeah,
you can't do that forever.
yeah.
But
Well, I mean, we could have been having this conversation 20 years earlier if one Asian guy went over to America and shot a particular CEO or stabbed
that's
him, more
true.
like, I don't know how to use a gun.
That is true.
I think we need to teach people how to control their emotions too. I mean, just know how to get them out and actually, if you like have a thing at school with like punching bags and stuff. If you get full of rage, just go down to the punching bags, get it out, kid, and actually teach them things and discipline, like martial art discipline and stuff like that, where they
Well,
can
that's
more
not going
control.
to cut it. That's not going to cut it with some people, especially
Mhm.
if it's that punching bag isn't actually a flesh and blood punching bag with the same face of
Uh,
the guy you
it
really
worked
hate
for
who
me.
killed your father. You know?
Just redirect it. My uncle taught me how to redirect. Like when I used to dig holes, he'd be like, "Get mad at it," and like if you start thinking about things that got you mad, I mean, your muscles start freaking adrenaline starts going in. You start busting rocks like nothing. Then
I think it depends on the person to some extent. Some of that's personality based. I can only speak for myself. If I'm angry at an individual, I cannot channel it into another direction and be okay. It has to be justice, meaning like that I don't believe
Mm,
in any sort of karma or afterlife or reckoning. So I have to believe that I got justice in some way, which means whoever is responsible for the causing that emotion that you're talking about, it has to be directed at them.
they have
Otherwise,
to
it
pay.
does absolutely nothing for me.
Yep, yep, agreed.
But that's just me. But like, there's something to be said if it's less serious about just learning, like, just to accept things as they are. But there's a
that's
fine
kind of
line
my
on what
thing.
you should do that with, in my opinion.
Well, I tolerate certain things to a certain point.
Well, I mean, Gads, you want to be like Buddha, but maybe when it's a family member that you love and all that, you would.
Believe
I
me,
I, I would
I've lost
imagine
my
you feel the
cool
same way.
before. I'm not. No, I'm no saint. Not even close.
Uh, I
But
don't
I've
know.
learned from my mistakes where after events, I look back and be like, maybe I shouldn't have lost control. Maybe I shouldn't have done that or broke that. I mean,
So
when you're a kid and you break your controllers, I mean, and you're poor, you don't get new controllers really often. So, I mean, you have to deal with broken shit. So don't
It
break your
makes a
shit.
difference when you have to buy it yourself, isn't it?
Yeah. like you broke your video game system. Well, there was no more video game system coming, you know.
This is what atheists fail to acknowledge. Everyone believes. From emptiness to everything, everyone believes. So,
And what?
in what way am I not acknowledging that people believe in stuff? Like, I don't understand your point there. What are you trying to get across? Like, your overarching deal.
Well, I'm sure he's a theist of some sort. So.
Well, yes, but I'm also.
They think theists think there is a God, but they're like, I don't think they really understand the way that you and I.
Oh, are you talking about the whole like atheists don't exist type thing? Is that what you mean?
I found anyone's beliefs from like
everything is not based on belief. So belief in the way that we commonly use it is subjective in nature. It means that some people will call it my truth, which I don't like because truth is objective, meaning there's two versions of your perception or what we perceive. There's
thousands of versions of Christianity.
That's true. Well, that's a good example of it, actually. Yeah. So there's things that we can measure, which is external of your personal experience in your own head. Those things are objectively true. Your belief, as in like your personal stuff, that is not necessarily objective. I'm not going to say it's not objective, but it's not necessarily objective.
I can disagree.
Go ahead.
Okay, you guys all like science, and by the way, I think Walter you're talking to, I'm a Muslim, so I am a theist, not atheist, a theist. I believe in God. Okay.
Right.
And one thing about that always gets me is the physics thing of for something to happen, it has to be observed, and the more we study the physics, if you don't observe it happening, it doesn't happen. Or it's something weird like that. It actually requires a conscious will to make the universe exist. And that's, to me, that's just mind-blowing. And I'm not push my religion or anybody else's religion, but it's something happening out there, whether we are living in what do you call it, the Matrix or something like that, at the loading screen, that we have to actually observe the thing for it to happen. Like the way I play Fallout and the stuff in the distance loads in. That's what's happening in the life.
Theory about where the human consciousness has an effect on reality. It's not through done like thinking of words, and so it's done by feelings and emotions. Almost kind of like how the warp is in the gods and the Warhammer, like how they're emotionally based. Like there's like a science behind that, where like our negative and positive emotions actually cause things to happen in the universe.
I don't know. Is that a real thing, or is that just a sci-fi thing from Warhammer?
I never talked with Joe or something like that. I'll have to find it.
There's a lot of not contradiction, but there's still a lot of argument on what you just said, Rash. So it's a theory. So we have observed things like what is it? Schrodinger's cat is one of the popular ones involved here.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, we have replicated it in certain ways, but there are some scientists that believe that this is an illusion of sorts, that it's based on our limited perception that we think that, and that our measurements are askew because of that. So, but I will say that it's possible. Go ahead.
Okay. Does that apply to the double slit experiment though? The double slit one is one that any high schooler can do, where you need to observe it for it to happen a certain way, right?
That one's
the double
that
slit.
one's one that always makes me think, because of how fast AI is advancing, that we are there's a saying like, if we ever invent AI, we are inside AI basically. So we could be like in a Matrix kind of AI system where it's
that's one of the things I side with, Gats. The Matrix idea.
Too many weird things going on now.
I think that there's a lot of evidence. I wouldn't call it a fact. There's a lot of evidence to support the Matrix theory. But before I forget here, I want to address something. Odyssey is correct. You cannot be neither a theist or an atheist. If you simply don't know or don't believe at all, you're an atheist.
Well,
Like-
or what do they call it?
Agnostic.
Yeah,
Agnostic.
People who are agnostic are almost always actually atheist. So the word agnostic gets misused.
Mhm.
Agnostic is based on the Greek word gnostic, which means to know. It's a position of knowledge. Atheism is a position of belief. They're two different things. So
Yeah. Okay.
everyone technically, if they're honest and they haven't had some sort of divine revelation or something like that, I guess I'm throwing that out on the off chance that it may exist, that I just have never experienced it. But everyone is agnostic to the point that they don't know. So it's useless to use the term agnostic in a noun sense, like I am
I'm sure there's no
agnostic and that's
God.
it.
That doesn't work on a believer, like a sincere believer.
I know.
The idea that we know, we just feel it in our bones. We know, you
But to
know.
me, it's like, well, why
Which
isn't
we-
Odin real? Why isn't Zeus real? Why aren't all these other pantheons of
I'm not
gods that were
saying
once
I'm not saying
real
we
not
can't be
real
wrong.
anymore? Why
People
isn't
can know
only your
things and
dominant
still be wrong
religion's
about.
real?
Yeah, I know what you're going for, Gats, but you can know something and still be totally wrong about it.
That is true.
I can know that my ex-wife is an evil bitch, but I'm probably wrong about it.
That is
You
true.
know?
So the issue here is there's subjective interpretation and then there's objective reality. So the issue is we can't gauge objective reality really well because we're biased and we're imperfect. But you have to acknowledge that there is an objective reality. Regardless of whether you have that info, you know that your wife either cheated or did not cheat, right? So one of those is correct. So
Yeah.
there is an objective reality. The issue is that you don't have the means to get to it perfectly. So when I say objectivity, I'm talking about the world theoretically outside of my perception that is measurable, that's objectively true. And when I use the word truth, that's what I'm referring to. I'm not claiming that I have that, by the way, but you have to distinguish between those two things. Like you are right that someone can think that they have the truth and be incorrect, but that doesn't mean that just means they were wrong, that they were incorrect the whole time. They didn't have objective reality.
I've heard this argument the other way around as well, in terms of you know me, I love to say, well, most of the human beings on this planet believe in a god of some sort, so we must be right. Now, if you've got an objective reality out there, like, okay, that's the star Proteon 5 or whatever, right? Everybody, every scientist, every person can see that star, right? They know it's out there. They can see it's out there. Are you going to say they could be wrong?
Well, okay. There's an issue
it
here.
Works both ways.
I get what you're saying, but when I make the case of like objectivity, it is true that we can't know for certain because we're humans, but it doesn't make every belief equal either. So when you talk about a star or something, it's not just I look up into the sky and see something I think is a star, therefore it's a star. We can measure it in multiple ways, not just with the naked eye. There's many ways that we can measure that exists, right? So it's not the same. It's not.
Okay, so basically you're saying one has more evidence than the other.
Yes.
Okay. So now there's how many books that say there is no God, and how many books that say there is a God, and how popular are all these books?
How many centuries have we lived under people being told for being
than the other?
Right, but isn't that an appeal to the majority? What does that have to do with what is true?
Well, that's what I mean. Objectively, you can look at this star and everybody can see it. That's an appeal to the majority.
No. My point didn't involve being able to see it. In fact, I made the case that we can measure it,
measure it in different ways. Yes.
So it exists regardless of our personal interpretation of whether or not it exists. Like you can't compare that to like a book says something, because even let's say a book says there is no God. It's true that that's not a fact. But I make the same case for that there is a God, because it's not science just because a book says so. It becomes science because you can use evidence to build on that mountain. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a completely different thing.
Well,
objectively, would you say
culture with science? Religion is cultural.
Would you say that
science.
Emotions don't exist? Like, say love. Would you say love does not exist because you can't measure it?
No, we can measure it.
You can measure love?
Yes.
Because it's a chemical reaction, right?
Yes.
Oxytocin.
Oh, damn it! Fuck you. That's a good one.
For love.
So, to be fair, I'm oversimplifying it. It's actually really complicated, but the primary chemical involved in love is oxytocin, as Gadwin said, and we can measure it to a certain extent, although not perfectly. But like,
you want it with serotonin, and you'll get that euphoria.
Yes. So there's multiple chemicals that are involved. But go ahead.
Is that the same whether it's your lover or say your child or a family member?
So oxytocin is involved both in the sexual type attraction and like familial type attraction, and all versions of like our pull toward connectedness with people, so to speak.
Okay.
A hug can give you like a boost of oxytocin.
Yes, although not to the same extent as putting your wiener in somebody's butthole.
Hey, just wash it off after you're done.
So yeah,
I'll take a hug. The wiener thing can keep it in touch.
Oh yeah, Brash got scared last time. You thought I was going to do the helicopter.
Damn it! I got excited for a while.
I think what you're going with is
disappeared.
I'll kind of work in your direction for a second, because I think what you were doing is saying that there are abstractions in the world. Like, there are things that are abstract and that we can't measure them objectively. So what I would say is those things don't objectively exist in the first place. They're creation. They're things that we created to try to understand the world and to work within it. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe anyway. I'm not going to claim that's a fact.
Well, that's where gods came from, is just to explain what man didn't understand yet. The more we understand, God becomes more of the filler of the gaps, and that's it.
That's what I believe.
It goes back to the observed thing, though. If the universe requires us to actually observe it for it to exist, there's something going on there that we really don't understand. And if nothing technically exists without us looking at it, then the idea of objective is like out the window.
If that's true, and I still believe, and this is not a fact, but I still believe that there's an issue in that framing. I believe that there's something we haven't yet discovered that makes us believe that objective reality changes based on our personal observation. I don't think that's true.
There's something that does where it makes it look like we're in a fucking matrix, where I'm not, because that's how video games work. It doesn't project the particles that you're not looking at, so it generates, the visuals whenever you look that direction. And that's basically what the slit test is kind of showing, which would make us be in like a fucking simulation. The closet isn't generated until you open the closet door, but then you close the door and it all disappears again.
Okay, there's more evidence than that, though. There is more evidence.
I need to look at
the way matter works. Like, I mean, we all understand what an atom looks like, right? But we don't really. We look at it at the textbook way, where you've got an atom, you've got a proton, a neutron, and an electron flying around, and they're really close together. But if the proton was the size of a marble, then the electron would be like 5 kilometers away. That's about 2 miles for you Americans, right? And the electron would be the size of a speck of dust. The universe literally is mostly nothing. It's like the lowest resolution possible for it to seem like it's real. Well, and if you were creating a game,
quarks, which are smaller than an atom.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about how much empty space is there. It's like if you were trying to make a computer game, you're just trying to make it as real as it needs to be. And that's how the universe is, as we understand it. It's just the lowest resolution version that will work. You get what I'm saying?
It's a compelling theory. And to be fair, there's a lot on this front that I still need to look into. I'm not really well versed in this.
I mean, it could be
I actually hate
randomly
it as well.
generated. It could all shut down. We
Because
reboot,
God
and you never
sake-
know it. And it's all random again, and we never know it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's another one. That's actually good from the theist version,
Well,
because if there's
see-
so many universes, then God is just overcompensated. Look, this is how powerful I am. I can make an infinite number of universes, and only one of them has, human beings and stuff like that. That's how great I
if
am.
we were in the Matrix, they could just rewrite our memories to believe whatever it wants us to, and nothing could be real. I mean, anything could be real under these
It could,
circumstances.
but why?
I don't know. AI.
Yeah.
And maybe
Look,
we uploaded our. Well, I did come up with this theory. Like, okay, say, what if we are actually like colonists, and we're actually in a ship being sent to, Alpha Centauri, and this travel is taking hundreds of years, but we're in like a stasis, and this is to keep our minds active while we're on the trip there. So it uploads, does a neural connection with our brain, and this is just what we think we are, but we're actually asleep in a spaceship.
that's the same idea as the Matrix. They keep you doing stuff in your mind to keep your body actually producing. Otherwise, you turn into a sort of a zombie, and you don't make electrical. Yeah.
It just keeps the electrical signals firing to all the parts that keep it actually viable.
Yeah, which was a stupid idea. That was never supposed to be in the Matrix. The idea of using us as batteries was never supposed to be in that movie.
Hollywood fucked that up or something?
Yes, the producers fucked it up because
Oh.
they thought that the original idea people wouldn't understand it, and they might be right, because I've actually forgotten what the original idea was, but it wasn't that we're supposed to be batteries.
Yeah, I don't know how that was supposed to work anyway. I mean, you got to provide us with piles of nutrients, and what are you going to get out? Shit.
Yeah. They caveat with saying that they combine it with a form of fusion. So, whatever.
I mean, yeah, an advanced AI.
Anyway,
it could have figured out cold fusion and just, a couple of cold fusion power plants, and it would have powered all. I mean, made the whole world into one giant whatever.
Yeah, it was dumb. I mean, no, it's great. It's a great movie, but some of it's dumb.
Hindsight's always 50-50 or whatever.
I know. I'm one of those people.
Rather than look at it in black and white, take the positive things that it brought to the mainstream, like just basic ideas that could be, and then like also talk shit about the things that are just absolutely retarded. But you can have both.
I think V for Vendetta is a must watch for everybody.
I love that movie.
Dude, that's one of my favorites. But for what it's going, I think to me, it's going to be kind of relevant for future context. The police stay watching what you say, not being able to be who you are, so on.
Right.
Well, wasn't the actor for Vendetta Hugo Weaving?
The guy that played the Elrond.
Yeah, the guy who played the Agent Smith in The Matrix.
Yep.
Sorry, that's the way my mind fires off stupid neurons. Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, I would like you to come with me.
You do that so well, Gaz. Oh.
All right, guys. I've went way past my time, and I'm freaking exhausted at this point. It's all good. It was actually interesting, and as usual, we got into some other stuff, and I'm always left. Every time I leave a live stream, I've got like 5 things I need to look up. I guess it's a good problem, but also I'm always damn researching shit.
Dragging you into the weeds.
Well, no, I see it as I think learning doesn't need to be an end goal. Like the sake of learning anyway. Knowledge is good on its own.
See, that was the kind of goal I always set when I was younger. I was like, I want to learn everything. But I mean,
I had
the more
same
you learn,
problem.
You find out you can't learn everything. It stems into another thing and another thing and another thing. And
so I completely agree, and I've said this exact same thing. When I was younger, I wanted to learn everything about everything. So I still stick to knowledge is good. The problem is we are limited in our ability to comprehend, and we have limited space. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and especially me, I have a terrible memory. So what I've done is I've just picked 2 to 3 things that are like my primaries, and I focus on them. And that's what I'm doing, by the way. Like the things that I'm interested in here it's kind of one of my things. It's like one of those sort of sci-fi type philosophy type shit, because Matrix theory is philosophy, and it ties right into the shit that's right up my alley. So we always get into something that even in my select like 3 or 4 things, there's always something that's like, oh, I got to check into that.
Well, I mean that kind of makes me feel good too, because it like you're actually contributing to some, something like inspiring ideas and stuff like that. Like that's what I like to do too, is problem solve.
Well,
Yeah.
that'll change. What you focus on will change over time, though. It's like
Oh, yeah.
for me, the whole Palestine-Israel thing, I was doing that 25 years ago, and I had all the history down pat. I knew everything about everything. Now I can't even remember all the dates and stuff that I used to know.
And yet
But
you still argue with me
you
nonstop.
form your conclusion, and you just after that you just know. You just know this is right, this is wrong, and you can tell from what they're doing. Oh, they did this before. I know. I can't remember how they did it before, but they did it before.
Right.
You know, that kind
so
of thing.
I run into
And then
this
you move
problem
on.
a lot because I have a terrible memory. So I
Yeah.
know that I've had evidence at some point, because I don't believe shit just for the hell of it. So I'll tell people, I'm like, yeah, that's true. And they're like, okay, so why? And I'm like, I can't fucking remember. And then they're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a problem, but I still know that I knew, if that makes sense. Like I trust that I know who I am, and I don't just come to fucking conclusions through emotional shit. So back when I looked it up, it was legitimate, at least at the time, and there was evidence to back it. And I just don't remember what the fucking evidence is. And that's how our brains work. We remember the important shit, which is, hey, this is true. We don't necessarily remember every little detail about the evidence that
you form a rule of thumb. You form a
I
rule.
did that with a little factoid here not long ago. I remember because I see it on TV. I used to go like kids shows that have little stupid factoids that come up, and then you'd remember these dumb little facts. And then I said it, and then it was false. Now it changed. Fuck you, facts.
We do have shit memory sometimes, so to some extent you can't trust your memory, and that's it's unfortunate.
See,
I have to constantly learn
I am
shit.
good with my memory. Like I am good with like a photographic memory, like
Mm.
at recall. So that's my now. I can't remember names or addresses or phone numbers for the life of me, and I'm doomed. Don't tell me numbers to remember. I'll fucking forget those quick. But photographic, like you drive me to a place, I'll remember exactly how to drive home without needing to know anything.
That's awesome. I wish I had that. So before I forget, I want to answer Odyssey's question. I don't know if I'm going to be doing anything for Christmas, honestly. I may have my kids. So I'll put a post out if I'm changing anything, but for now I'm still just sticking with the Fridays. Yeah. And it's been fun, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on.
Because I had to work during the week, so I'd have to leave at like 9:30.
Right. It's all good. So thanks for coming on, and you guys take it easy.
Till next time.
Thanks a lot.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, happy holidays.
Right back at you.